This is a video, or a quick video on rounding. Okay, rounding. So this is really about doing approximations. Okay, and there's a number of reasons why we might do this. If you've got a very long decimal number, you might want to round it to one decimal place or two decimal places. And if you've got a large number, you might want to round it to the nearest tens or hundreds or thousands. So I'm probably thinking, or you're probably thinking, that this sounds a little bit familiar, and it is a familiar thing to be talking about, because remember when we talked about place value and writing numbers in expanded form, you need to understand that if you're going to be able to do rounding. Okay, so if you don't understand place value, you're going to need to go back and look at the video on place value. But anyway, with rounding, you might have a number of numbers, and let's write a few numbers here. We might have the number 59. And the number that I put in the brackets, I'm going to say, I want you to round 59, round to nearest 10. Okay. And I'm going to get another number, let's say 231. And we're going to say round to nearest 100. And when you get a question like this where they might have in the brackets round to 10, round to 100, you need to understand place value, okay? Because you need to know where the tens column is or where the hundreds column is, place value is. So with the first question, round to nearest 10, we know that that is the ones column. So that's the ones column. This is the tens column. So what you do is you look at the tens column, and the next digit, which in this case is the ones digit, is what's known as the critical digit. Okay, and the value of the critical digit will determine whether this number, the tens column, goes up or down. So all you need to remember is, and I'm going to write this over on the right hand side, if the critical digit is 5 or more, round up. And what that means is, well, we know that's that critical digit, because it's the one that comes after the 10, is greater than 5. So this needs to go up by 1. So the answer to the nearest 10 for 59 is 60. Okay? Now, if the critical digits, if critical digit is less than 5, in other words, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we leave it the same. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I, instead of 59, I had a 54, this is not a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 9. It's a 4, which is less than 5. Once it's less than 5, that's the critical digit, the 4. If I want to round to the nearest 10, because that digit, the critical digit that comes after the tens column, is less than a 5, this stays the same. And in this case, the answer would be 50. Big difference. So if I go 51, 52, 53, or 54, it's a 50. But if I'm going to round to the nearest 10 and it's 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, obviously 60, it rounds to 60. Okay, so that's how you do your rounding. Let's have a look at this to the nearest 100 question. Well, first of all, we need to establish where is the hundreds column. That's the units, the 1. The 3 is the tens column. So the 2 is the hundreds column. So that's not the critical digit. We look at the next digit along to work out the critical digit. So the 3 is the critical, I'm going to write CD for critical digit. Okay, so 3 is a critical digit. So let's look at our rules over this side. If the critical digit is 5 or more, round it up. Is it a 5 or more? No, it's not. It's a 3. So if the critical digit is less than the 5, that's not an S, it's a 5, leave it alone. So it's a 2. So to the nearest hundreds, the answer would be 200. Now, you need to practice that, so I would suggest you go to exercise 1H and really give that a lot of practice, and soon enough you'll be an expert. And if you have any questions about this, you'll need to come and see me. Just as a little side note, if you are going to be rounding numbers that are decimals and they say round to 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places or 4 decimal places, let's look at a few numbers. Say I had 112.335 and I said I want you to round that to 2 decimal places, okay? What you do is you find the second decimal place, so that's the decimal point. We go 1, 2. So the next digit along, so this is 2 decimal places. So if I'm asking you to round to 2 decimal places, you find the digit after the second decimal place and you work out using the same rules. Is it 5 or more? It is 5 or more, so this will go up. So the answer would be 112.34 because the critical digit was a 5, okay? So that's how you round using decimals, okay? I'm going to do one more example of that because I'm certain that that's not going to be clear enough for everybody. So let's have a look at a few examples. I'll go 156.233. I'll go 112.561. And let's do this to 2 decimal places, rounding. And this one, we're going to do to 1 decimal place. And we have to remember our how to work out our critical digits. So if I say 2 decimal places, see the 2 there, I count 1, 2. That's how many decimal places I'm going to want in my answer. I don't want this one here, but that one after the 2 decimal places is the critical digit. Is it a 5 or more? No, it's not. So I leave this number the same. So to 2 decimal places, the answer would be 156.23. Okay, pretty simple. What about this one to 1 decimal place? We work out where our 1 decimal place is, it's the 5. And as soon as we work out where our 1 decimal place is, then of course our critical digit is going to be this digit here, okay? The one that's after the decimal places. So that's the CD for this one. On this one, it was this one here. So we've got a 6, because we're going to 1 decimal place for this one. 6, so is that a 5 or more? Yes, it is. So this has to do what? We need to round it up, don't we? So that would be 112.6. Now, if there's anything about that you don't understand, you're going to need to come and see me for some further lessons on that. But have a look at 1H, and you'll be able to, in the textbook, work out, and 1H is on page 36 in the textbook. You should be able to work